Hey y'all! Travel is one of the most enriching experiences one can have. It opens doors to new cultures, perspectives, and adventures. But not all travel experiences are created equal. While some countries offer endless beauty, hospitality, and memorable moments, others may present challenges that can turn a dream trip into a nightmare. Honduras is a beautiful country with rich history, stunning natural landscapes, and vibrant culture. However, it has one of the highest murder rates in the world, particularly in cities like San Pedro Sula and Tegucigalpa. The prevalence of gang violence and drug trafficking makes certain areas extremely dangerous for both locals and tourists. In addition to violent crime, petty theft and armed robberies are common, especially in tourist areas. If you must travel to Honduras, it is advised to stick to well-known tourist destinations like the Bay Islands and Copan Ruinas, and always stay vigilant. Avoid traveling at night and be cautious in urban areas. Venezuela, once one of the wealthiest countries in Latin America, has been suffering from a severe economic and political crisis for years. Hyperinflation, shortages of basic goods, and political unrest make it a difficult place to visit. Crime is rampant, with Caracas often cited as one of the most dangerous cities in the world. Kidnappings, robberies, and violent crime are significant concerns. The U.S. Department of State has issued a Level 4 do not travel advisory for Venezuela due to crime, civil unrest, and the arbitrary detention of U.S. citizens. If you absolutely must visit, ensure you have a trusted contact on the ground, avoid drawing attention to yourself, and avoid discussing sensitive political issues. Somalia has been embroiled in conflict for decades, making it one of the most dangerous countries in the world. Al-Shabaab, a terrorist group, controls large portions of the country and frequently carries out attacks in the capital, Mogadishu, and other regions. Piracy is also a significant issue, particularly in the waters off the Somali coast. Somalia is currently under a Level 4 do not travel advisory due to crime, terrorism, civil unrest, and health risks. If you must go to Somalia, it is crucial to have a well-secured and trusted support network in place, and to avoid unnecessary travel within the country. North Korea. Why is it challenging? Well, North Korea is one of the most isolated countries in the world, with a government that tightly controls all aspects of life within its borders. Tourists are only allowed to visit on guided tours, and independent travel is strictly prohibited. The risk of arbitrary detention is high, particularly for travelers who might inadvertently break one of the country's many obscure laws. The political situation is also highly unstable, making it a risky destination. Most Western countries, including the United States, strongly advise against travel to North Korea. If you do visit, be aware that you will be under constant surveillance, and any actions that are seen as disrespectful to the regime could result in severe consequences, including detention. Yemen. Why is it challenging? Yemen is currently in the midst of a brutal civil war that has created one of the worst humanitarian crises in the world. The conflict has led to widespread famine, the collapse of healthcare systems, and the displacement of millions of people. Terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula and ISIS also have a strong presence in the country, further exacerbating the danger. Yemen is under a Level 4 do not travel advisory due to terrorism, civil unrest, health risks, kidnapping, and armed conflict. Traveling to Yemen is extremely dangerous and should be avoided at all costs. Afghanistan. Why is it challenging? Well, unless you've been on another planet for the last 20 years, you would know that Afghanistan has been a conflict zone for decades, with ongoing violence from Taliban forces, ISIS, and other militant groups. The security situation is dire, with frequent bombings, kidnappings, and other forms of violence. The recent takeover by the Taliban has only worsened the situation, with reports of human rights abuses and crackdowns on freedoms. Afghanistan is under a Level 4 do not travel advisory due to crime, terrorism, civil unrest, kidnapping, and armed conflict. The situation is highly volatile, and travel to Afghanistan should be avoided. South Sudan. Why it's challenging. South Sudan, the world's youngest country, has been plagued by civil war, ethnic violence, and political instability since its independence in 2011. The country has one of the highest rates of violent crime in the world, and travelers face risks of armed robbery, kidnapping, and violent attacks. In addition, the healthcare system is severely underdeveloped, and there is a high risk of infectious diseases. Travel advisory: South Sudan is under a level 4 do not travel advisory due to crime, kidnapping, and armed conflict. The security situation is extremely unpredictable, and the risk of being caught in violence is high. Libya: why it's challenging. Libya has been in turmoil since the fall of Muammar Gaddafi in 2011. The country is currently divided between multiple factions, with frequent clashes between militias. Crime is rampant, with armed robberies, kidnappings, and carjackings being common. Terrorist groups like ISIS and Al-Qaeda also have a presence in the country, further contributing to the instability. Travel advisory: Libya is under a level 4. Do not travel advisory due to crime, terrorism, civil unrest, kidnapping, and armed conflict. The situation is highly unstable, and travelers are at significant risk of violence and kidnapping. Syria: why it's challenging. Syria has been engulfed in a brutal civil war since 2011, with the conflict causing widespread devastation. The war has led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people and the displacement of millions. The country is also home to numerous terrorist groups, including ISIS, which poses a significant threat to travelers. The infrastructure has been largely destroyed, and the healthcare system is in a dire state. Travel advisory: Syria is under a level 4. Do not travel advisory due to terrorism, civil unrest, kidnapping, and armed conflict. The situation is extremely dangerous, and travel to Syria should be avoided at all costs. Central African Republic: why it's challenging. The Central African Republic has been mired in conflict and instability for decades. Armed groups control much of the country, and the risk of violence, kidnapping, and armed robbery is extremely high. The country is also plagued by severe poverty, lack of infrastructure, and a near total absence of healthcare services. In addition, the government has very little control over the country, making it one of the most dangerous places in the world for travelers. Travel advisory: the Central African Republic is under a level 4. Do not travel advisory due to crime, civil unrest, kidnapping, and armed conflict. The security situation is highly volatile, and travel to CAR is extremely dangerous. If you found this exploration of the world's most challenging travel destinations insightful, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. We cover all aspects of travel, from the most breathtaking places to visit to the spots you might want to avoid. Share your thoughts in the comments, and let us know if there are any other countries you're curious about.